Hey everyone, it's Saoirse. I don't know about you, but I need a little inspiration, a little motivation, some pep talks at this point in my life. Hello. And this book is a great way to do that. It's Brave Enough by Cheryl Strayed, and this was published in 2015. So this is just a collection of quotes from Cheryl Strayed's books, like Wild and Tiny Beautiful Things. And also, no, I think that's it. There might be quotes that she said somewhere else, but I think I recognized a lot of them from those books. And I don't typically read books of quotations, but it goes so quick. And I love Cheryl Strayed. I love the way that she articulates things that I think, but don't know how to say. She says here in the introduction, when I made the selections included here culled from the books and essays I've written and interviews and talks I've given, I remembered that when I first wrote or said them, they were not wisdoms. They were not wisdoms I wished to bestow upon others. In fact, I never imagined they'd be interpreted as wisdoms at all. Most of the quotes included here feel to me more like conversations I was having with myself that turned out to be conversations other people were apparently having with themselves too. For every quote in this book imploring you to accept and forgive and be brave enough, to be kind and grateful and honest, to be generous and bold, I'm imploring myself to do the same. So I love that she says that we're all having these conversations with ourselves, and she's putting them into words, and we can feel so lonely. It's so easy to feel really alone with our wild thoughts. That's why it's so important, I think, to talk about our feelings, to make it known to other people that we are struggling or we're having a hard time, I don't know, figuring out the right way to cope with a certain situation. A lot of people are experiencing the same thing, and they all feel alone because nobody's talking about it, because talking about hard things is hard. And then I love this part from the introduction. I'm also reminded of how those words no longer belong only to me, how when we identify with what another has said or written, we use those words as an articulation of our own inner voices, not only as a celebration of theirs. Winston Churchill was encouraging his countrymen to endure the profound hardships and terrifying uncertainties of World War II when he said never give in. But in the 7+ decades since he uttered those words, countless people have applied that simple but powerful phrase to inspire them to push through their own struggles, large and small, humble and inane, and okay, in my case, hiking related. I don't know why my light is freaking out. Let's turn it off for a second. Ooh! There's something wrong with my power because there was a storm, so all the outlets in my house are like flickering, which is really kind of scary. So sorry about that. That is the only outlet that I can plug this light into. Alright, so I'm going to read the ones that resonated with me the most, and it would be interesting to know if you've read this, which ones resonated with you, because I love, like that quote that I just read, words become what they are. They live through the reader. So the writer can write with whatever intention they want, and then the reader really gives that life, and it takes on its own meaning for each individual person, and it's always going to be different. So, start with this one. We don't reach the mountaintop from the mountaintop. We start at the bottom and climb up. Blood is involved. I just love that because being a hiker and standing at the bottom of so many mountains on the Appalachian Trail, where I knew I was going to have to climb, 1,500 feet over the next few hours or whatever. It was really intimidating, and I'm going to turn this off again. But then every time I got to the top of the mountain, that feeling was amazing. So yeah, you don't start at the top, you can't start at the top. You earn your way through the journey, and that's what makes it more thrilling when you get there. You don't have to get a job that makes others feel comfortable about what they perceive as your success. You don't have to explain what you plan to do with your life. You don't have to justify your education by demonstrating its financial rewards. You don't have to maintain an impeccable credit score. Anyone who expects you to do any of those things has no sense of history or economics or science or the arts. You have to pay your own electric bill. You have to be kind. You have to give it all you've got. You have to find people who love you truly and love them back with the same truth. But that's all. I love that one because I have an English degree and a creative writing degree, and everyone's first question is, what are you going to do with that? That's not what's important. You don't have to justify your education by demonstrating its financial rewards. I love that. Maybe it was just what suited me, what I liked to learn about. It doesn't matter that it's not going to lead to something obvious that makes a ton of money. And I don't know if that's the same in every culture, but here in America, we just love to talk and brag about our education and ask people what they're doing with theirs. I'm going to periodically have to turn this off because I feel like it helps the flickering. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't. I'm sorry. It might just go dark for a minute here. What if I forgave myself? What if I forgave myself even though I'd done some things I shouldn't have? What if I was sorry, but if I could go back in time I wouldn't do anything different from what I'd done? What if yes was the right answer instead of no? What if all those things I shouldn't have done were what got me here? What if I was never redeemed? What if I already was? I love that because I personally have a major guilt complex. Oh, this light is driving me insane. Look, it's like a party in here. Yeah, so having a guilt complex, this whole forgiving myself thing is spot on. What if I was never redeemed? What if I already was? These are all things that, like, we make up. You know, there's no rule book, there's nobody that says, alright, you are forgiven now. You have been redeemed. So go forth, my child. It just doesn't happen. So we have to find that strength within ourselves to know, lay this burden down, let go of this, at least for now. You know, you don't need to constantly feel guilt because it doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve anyone. This one is from Wild. It had only to do with how it felt to be in the wild, what it was like to walk for miles for no reason other than to witness the accumulation of trees and meadows, mountains and deserts, streams and rocks, rivers and grasses, sunrises and sunsets. The experience was powerful and fundamental. It seemed to me that it had always felt like this to be a human in the wild, and as long as the wild existed, it would always feel this way. That's just a beautiful way to describe what it's like being a long-distance hiker. You really experience the world in a different way than you ever have before. If, as a culture, we don't bear witness to grief, the burden of loss is placed entirely on the bereaved, while the rest of us avert our eyes and wait for those in mourning to stop being sad, to let go, to move on, to cheer up. And if they don't, if they have loved too deeply, if they do wake each morning thinking, I cannot continue to live, well, then we pathologize their pain. We call their suffering a disease. We do not help them. We tell them that they need to get help. We do not help them. We tell them that they need to get help. That's painful. This makes me think of my issue with toxic positivity. I cannot stand people who say good vibes only. Life isn't all good vibes. It is not only good vibes. There are bad vibes and there are bad times, and we all get through them in different ways, and so your version of working through something might not work for somebody else. And for instance, I, for many, many years, suffering with depression and anxiety, did not want to go on medication. Not really for any, like, reason about stigma or anything. I just was nervous and was just in therapy. And in the past couple of months, I've started medication, and I feel so different. I was afraid I would feel numb. I can still cry. I've found out I'm still perfectly capable of crying, which is great, because you need to be able to do that. But everything doesn't feel like the end of the world like it used to. I used to just sit around in a panic for no reason or for a reason, but usually just constant panic, and sometimes I'd have to say, like, wait, what was I worried about? I can't even remember why I'm sitting here having the physical reactions to freaking out, you know? The way that manifests in the body, it's very real. And when I'm sad, it doesn't become this crushing, can't get out of bed, there's no point to life sadness. So far, I'm really liking it. And I can't believe I waited so long, but hopefully it continues to work. But yeah, I just like that quote that we should bear witness to people's grief, and we should be there for them in the way that they need. I'm not just telling people, like, other people have it worse, or don't worry, it gets better. These useless things. I know it's very hard to comfort people who are grieving. I know that because I've had a lot of friends grieving. I've been grieving a lot. And there are just a few people who have been able to say things to me that actually get through to me, because usually it's just the standard, like, you know, they're there, I understand, or whatever. But sometimes people say things that just spark something in my brain. Like, wow, you really are a good comforter. That's such a skill. And I'm not sure if I really have that, but I try. Here's another one about grief. Grief is tremendous, but love is bigger. You are grieving because you loved truly. The beauty in that is greater than the bitterness of death. Allowing this into your consciousness will not keep you from your suffering, but it will help you survive the next day. So yeah, that was one thing I was afraid of with going on medication. Like, will I be able to feel my grief fully? Will I be able to feel things that deserve to be felt, that need to be felt in order to allow healing? And yeah, it doesn't keep you from suffering at all, but it helps you survive to the next day. I just like the way she worded that. Withholding love distorts reality. It makes the people who do the withholding ugly and small-hearted. It makes the people from whom things are withheld crazy and desperate and incapable of knowing what they actually feel. Don't be strategic or coy. Strategic and coy are for jackasses. Be brave. Be authentic. Practice saying the word love to the people you love, so when it matters the most to say it, you will. Can anyone relate to this? This just reminds me of all of my toxic relationships where I was being gaslit so hard I didn't know what was true anymore. That's such a scary place to be in. And it just feels good to be single right now, but you know, hopefully not all relationships are toxic. I try to tell myself that. And my heart goes out to those of you who are in something like that right now. Somebody who's withholding love from you, trying to distort your reality with their words. It's a dangerous place, and I hope you can get out of it if you're in it. I think this is from Wild too. Uncertain as I was as I pushed forward, I felt right in my pushing, as if the effort itself meant something. That perhaps being among the undesecrated beauty of the wilderness meant I, too, could be undesecrated, regardless of what I'd lost or what had been taken from me, regardless of the regrettable things I'd done to others or to myself, or the regrettable things that had been done to me. Of all the things I'd been skeptical about, I didn't feel skeptical about this. The wilderness had a clarity that included me. Again, if you have the means to do it, and you can go out into the woods and hike for a few days at least, do it. I don't know how it works, but like chemical brain change that happens when you're in nature for an extended period of time. I mean, even a day will be beneficial, but if you can go backpacking, it's really worth it. Something just happens where you start interpreting your problems in a different way. Nothing seems as big as it did before, because you're surrounded by the immensity of the world, and you feel small, but in a good way. The narratives we create in order to justify our actions and choices become in so many ways who we are. They are the things we say to ourselves to explain our complicated lives. Perhaps the reason you've not yet been able to forgive yourself is that you're still invested in your self-loathing. Would you be a better or worse person if you forgave yourself for the bad things you did? If you perpetually condemn yourself, does that make you good? There's another one from my guilt complex. A lot of things I feel guilty for are not really warranted. Some are, and some are only because I interpret them to be that way. I am capable of feeling guilty for pretty much anything. Like, even things I didn't do. And does it make me a good person if I just sit around beating myself up all the time, hating myself, saying horrible things about myself and to myself, isolating myself, depriving myself of things that I love because I don't deserve them, because this is my punishment for X, Y, and Z? Does that really solve anything? The answer is no. But then, we can look throughout history at people who are into self-flagellation, where you just, like, beat the crap out of yourself because that's your way of making up for whatever sins that you are perceived to have. I don't know, that's a whole other thing. I'll never know, and neither will you, about the life you didn't choose. We'll only know that whatever that sister life was, it was important and beautiful and not ours. It was the ghost ship that didn't carry us. There's nothing to do but salute it from the shore. Y'all know how I always talk about that Sylvia Plath quote from the Bell Jar about the fig tree, where you're sitting under the fig tree and all the figs represent different lives and paths that you could take, people you could be with, and you can't choose any of them because there are so many different ones that you just sit there and let them rot at your feet. And that's what I fear about my life, that I've always feared about it, is that I cannot make decisions. There seem to be far too many ways to go. I could pick up and move anywhere and then start an entirely new life, and there are just, there's so many career paths like I could have gone on, and there's different things that I have not tried, that either I'm afraid to or I just can't right now or whatever. So I love that she addresses that and kind of lets some of that anxiety go, by saying that, whatever that life was, it's not ours. So we can just say, see ya to it, and continue on the path that we chose. Travel by foot. There is so much you can't identify at top speed. Short and sweet. I love that one. If you spend a long time walking, if you do go hiking for a while, and then you get in a car and drive anywhere, it is so jarring. I'd be hiking for days and then stumble out of the woods and get in the back of a pickup truck to go get food in town, and I would just be flying by all these miles, sometimes the miles that I'd already hiked, and you can't see or appreciate anything. But when you're on foot, you are looking at every little bug and leaf and blade of grass, and that is a magical thing, and it just really translates to everyday life. Stop and smell the roses and all that. Okay. You are a mortal being, like every human and June bug, like every black bear and salmon. We're all going to die, but only some of us are going to die tomorrow, or next year, or in the next half century. And by and large, we don't know which of us it will be, when and of what. That mystery is not the curse of our existence, it's the wonder. It's what people are talking about when they talk about the circle of life that we're all part of, whether we sign up to be or not. The living, the dead, those being born right at this moment, and the others who are fading out. Attempting to position yourself outside the circle isn't going to save you from anything. It isn't going to keep you from your grief, or protect those you love from theirs when you're gone. It isn't going to extend your life or shorten it. You're here, so be here. You're okay with us for now. So in addition to my guilt complex and anxiety and whatever, I also have this obsession with fear of, fascination with death, and thinking about just the finite quality of life and how short it really is when you look at it. So I like that, you know, trying to put yourself outside the circle of life is not going to do anything. You're gonna die. We're all gonna die. And I actually do use that a lot as a comforting thing, which is morbid and weird. But like when people are being crappy and life is crappy and I'm just, I don't know, I look around and I'm like, oh, those people are gonna die one day. Like that person who's being mean to me, they have the same fate as I do, so why do we care so much about being cruel to each other? And why should I care so much about this silly little decision I'm making or whatever? In the grand scheme of things, I'm gonna die, so it doesn't really matter. Now that's something I use to cope sometimes, but it's not like the healthiest way to look at things, because the fact is you are alive right now, right here, and if you care about your life and if you care about other people, then your choices do matter. Just because you're not going to last forever doesn't mean that you didn't matter at all while you were here. Okay, that's all the important ones, and then this one I just have to read because it made me laugh. We were all sluts in the 90s. I don't know. I just liked that one. I was born in the early mid-90s, so it wasn't that true for me, but just, that's so random that that's in there. Okay. That's all I've got. Everyone, I don't know, carry on. I know we've been saying this for years. We've probably been saying it forever. But things are hard right now, and I see you, and I am right there with you, and I feel your struggle, and I wish you all the best. And please let me know what you're doing to take care of yourself right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Happy reading.